The other part of the league, the disarray and shambles are, it's disgusting how bad some of these teams are. And it's week in, week out, how bad, how awful we're seeing these football teams look.
It could be a blip on the radar, or maybe it is just it's a sign of the way things are moving,
As those Cowboys did it and failed. And I absolutely loved it for my Vikings.
Great example, Shane.
Thinking, you guys are idiots. You guys are morons. What are you doing?
The Behind the Lines podcast is proud to be sponsored by SXBet, the world's most sophisticated crypto betting exchange. Millions traded every month with 0% fees, all on the chain. Never fight for a withdrawal. Your money is always yours using advanced wallet technology. Fair, transparent, and limitless. Bet on SX.
Welcome in, it's Behind the Lines, purifying sports betting, winning with SX. I'm Shane, Pace is here. On today's show, Pace's really bad beat, NFL countdown to playoffs, and Gosu is here. He's ready to grind. John, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Good. Pace, are you doing all right too?
Never better, Shane.
Beautiful. Love it. Okay, we're kicking things off with the grind as we have been doing for the last couple of weeks here. John, just to recap, your picks from last week went 2-4, but we also had a winner from the previous week that you called 2 weeks ago come through for us, and that was Army in the Army-Navy game. So 3-4 if you add it up, looking at last week. John, what do you got for us this week?
Yep, hopefully we can have
Pace has something first. Go ahead, Pace.
Well, we're going to change the name of the segment to Eating Juice.
Eating juice.
That's what we do
Basically
here.
what we're doing here.
Let's all sip down on some juice together. But Shane, we got to wish you a huge happy birthday. I know when this is coming out, it's 2 days after your birthday, but when we're recording, today's your birthday.
It is.
What do you have planned for your birthday? What's going on?
Oh, wow. What do I got planned? Well, I'm doing this with you guys. I did have a nice long sleep in this morning. Usually I'm up when the kids are off to school. I got up, waved them off, and I went back to bed for another hour just because I could. So that was kind of nice. And then, doing a few different things. I cashed out some of my profits that I made on SX over the weekend. So I went through that little process of raking in that profit. Just as a little happy birthday to myself. We did well on the UFC over the weekend, and that's where I've been playing my UFC parlays because they've had the parlay tournament going. So I took in some of those profits there. And later today, I've got some stuff. I've still got dad stuff to do. I got to run a kid to a soccer jersey fitting, and then from there we go to practice. And then by the time we get home, it'll be about 8:00 Eastern, and I think my wife has something planned dinner wise at that point. So
yes, excellent stuff. You deserve it, buddy. You deserve the sleep in too.
Thanks a lot, and appreciate the wishes there. Okay, but that's not what people are tuning in for. They're here for John's picks. So John, let's
I'm sure they're here to eat juice with the rest of us.
Yeah.
We're getting into the dog days of college football in the NFL now. So the picks, I'm betting a lot less in terms of volume on these games. So a lot of meaningless bowl games, a lot of meaningless NFL games as we get down the wire here. So the first game I'm betting this week, this will come out, the podcast should come out on Wednesday, and this game is Wednesday night. So this is Old Dominion against South Florida in the Cure Bowl, I believe. It's some sponsor I've never heard of. So South Florida coach Alex Golesh and most all of the offensive staff have left for Auburn. They won't be with the team for this game, and neither will starting quarterback Byron Brown, who's by far their best player, most important player. They also have a lot of guys out with injuries, which I believe is just opt-outs. I'd expect more. Old Dominion's also missing their quarterback, Colton Joseph, but I don't think that's as big of a deal as what's going on the South Florida side. You never really know the motivations for certain until these teams get on the field in these bowl games, but I have to think that this season ended more disappointingly for USF. They were the front runner to make the Group of Five bid in the playoff for most of the season. They beat Florida in the Swamp. And now they're without their coaching staff and their quarterback in the Cure Bowl. It's kind of disappointing to me. I make this line 6 if both teams are fully healthy. So I think this should be closer to a pick. So I'm taking Old Dominion plus 3.5 and a little bit more than a sprinkle on the money line. Anytime at a bowl game, I'm taking a dog. I'm definitely going to be a little heavier on the money line than I would be in the regular season, because there's probably a good chance that if you cover, the reason you cover is because the other team just literally didn't show up and get off the bus. So
Right.
they're
It
probably
sounds
going
like
to
you're
win.
actually taking two separate picks here, the money line and the plus.
Yeah, I would go I would split. Like if I had a unit on the plus 3.5, I would have a half unit on the money line. It's
Okay.
like plus 150 instead of like a quarter unit or like a tenth of a unit or something like that.
Okay.
So yep, Old Dominion and the Cure Bowl on Wednesday. The next two will be college football playoff first round. So last year, when they released the lines for the first round games, I thought it was about 3 to 4 points or even more toward the home team, or that's what it should have been. I thought the books did a poor job of handicapping the strength of home field, particularly in these night games for these home venues, given the stakes of the games, the inexperience of these players, the intensity of the crowds. So all 4 teams last year at home won and covered easily. This year, I think they did a little bit better of a job, but from an X's and O's standpoint in this James Madison Oregon game, I'm not even really going to get into it. I don't think these two teams really belong close to each other on the field. I've had Oregon in the top 5 the entire season, pretty much, and I've barely have ever cracked James Madison into the top 50. Oregon is laying 21 right now. I'm laying the points 21 flat out there. I would grab that. I think this gets up closer to 23.5, 24 before this game kicks off and the public gets involved. So to me, this is just a classic bad mismatch. I think this game could get really ugly. Teams win or teams win outright as 24-point underdogs in college football. It happens. It probably happens 1 out of 100 times in this game. But I think more than half the time easily, they get blown out by 4 to 5 touchdowns. So I'm taking Oregon minus 21 here.
All right. Quack, quack.
Yep. And then finally, Alabama at Oklahoma. So this is a rematch of a game that almost knocked Alabama out of the playoff earlier this year. Alabama actually dominated that game. They had some really costly turnovers. Simpson carved them up for like over 300 yards. Alabama spotted Oklahoma some early points with a pick 6, a punt that they punted on their own 30 or punted it out of bounds their own 30. Oklahoma's best drive was 8 plays, 42 yards for a field goal. Alabama had twice as many yards, twice as many first downs, held the ball for 10 more minutes. All that to say, I think the script flips here in Norman. I think there's bad vibes around Alabama. DeBoer's constantly mentioned as being at the top of the coaching search in these other schools. Says there's rumors he just hates Alabama, hates the SEC. Mateer's healthy now. I think the buys between these games really helps him get healthy. Alabama just had to play a tough game in the championship game against Georgia. I think Alabama is totally one-dimensional. I think Oklahoma shuts him down at home. So I like Oklahoma on the money line, plus 100. You can get out there right now. This game total's low. I think the script fits an Oklahoma win here. So I'm riding with the Sooners at home.
All right.
On to the NFL. Eagles at Commanders. This is Pace, do you have something to say? Sorry.
You got nothing on this Texas A&M game?
No, I don't. I think that game's properly handicapped.
Okay. I'm going to... okay. All right.
Jump in.
All right. Well, Pace, let us know. What do you like? You got to lean.
This, if I call something pregame, it's going to lose. But I love this Texas A&M spread at minus 3.5.
Yeah.
Okay. So taking the plus 3.5. Got it.
Yeah. I'm actually not going to bet it pregame though. I don't know if people know that. Like I don't bet these games pregame. And honestly, I hope I'm wrong, because I think live, if Miami's winning, we're going to make a fucking killing on this game, especially late in the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
But just on paper here, I like this A&M spread.
All right.
Yeah. I definitely get it. I'd love to fade. I'd love to have the numbers back me to fade Carson Beck and Mario Cristobal on the road. I
also had a question for you, John. Has James Madison played anyone this season?
They played Louisville, and they were in that game until late. And I want to say there was like a punt return touchdown or something where Louisville ended up winning by 14, but that's it. That's the best team they've played by far.
I'm sorry. I asked if they've played anyone.
Yeah, correct. Yes, that is it.
Okay.
So no, the answer is no.
To Louisville.
Yeah.
Okay. That's going to be a fun game for us. That's Saturday night. That's going to be a fun game for us.
Yeah.
Okay. NFL Eagles at Mandos.
Yeah. So Eagles at Commanders. This game is that early Saturday window. It's just like awkward, I think, for coaches and players. This game is very similar to that Raiders Eagles game from the past week where we had an under. So essentially any Eagles games right now, that's what I'm looking for. The way they're playing, they slow and methodical. Their defense is playing lights out. This Washington team, I think, is, if this game gets out of hand, very prone to give up and kind of just start, looking forward to next week, next season. Really, their season's over. I do think it might be competitive because it is a divisional game. The Eagles are on the road, but at the same time, I think the added probability of a blowout could lead or could help create a game script for an under. So I do like the under 45.5 here in this outdoor divisional game late in the year. Everybody, Eagles especially, just trying to stay healthy, although probably a good look at some A.J. Brown player props since he wasn't throwing the ball. I'm sure he let the coaching staff know how upset he was in their shutout win that they had. And then for the last, I only have one other NFL pick, and it's I'm looking at these two games. So the Rams are 1.5 point favorites in Seattle on Thursday night. I think this line is probably about right, but I do like Seattle in the spot. And I think the line will move towards them, but right now you can still go get a 1.5 on them as an underdog. So I'm looking to put them in a teaser with another team. And then on Saturday night, the Packers are 1.5 point favorites at Chicago. So you have two small road divisional favorites. Packers just lost some guys like Micah Parsons. I think I know he's done for the year. Christian Watson, I think, got really hurt in that game as well. I don't know what his status is, but I'm not convinced Packers should be favored in this game. And for what it's worth, divisional underdogs between 1.5 to 2.5 points on a 6-point teaser, those legs win 78% of the time over the last 20 years. Wow. So you put two of those together, that's 60.8% on a teaser, which still gives you good ROI, even despite the amount of VIG that books are charging on those teasers these days. So I'll put these two together. That's Bears plus 7.5, Seahawks plus 7.5 on the teaser. And again, like I said, I think that line's going to move towards Seattle. So if it actually does flip and Seattle's favored, I would still put the Rams in that teaser in their place. And what I'll probably do is, I've already bet this. If it does flip, I'll just bet it again and have both sides of that Rams Seahawks game and have the Bears as my other leg there.
I like that logic on both sides. John, I actually want to bring something up. You brought it up on stream yesterday, and I think that it's always good to have like plus EV discussions. 4-leg 13-point teasers. You made mention that the fair price should be closer to plus money, and people think they're getting value at minus 140.
Yeah. Well, the added value of the extra points you get outside of a 6-point teaser just starts to decay very rapidly. So, when you set a line, there's like a probability distribution where the actual margin of victory in the game is going to be clustered around that line, right? Like that's where it's not where on average the game ends. It's like where the most common amount of outcomes are going to be centered around, right? So if you're taking like a team that's minus 12.5 and you're putting them in a 13-point teaser, well, getting them under a field goal or getting them under 6 isn't as valuable, even as not negative EV as it would be to just put them in a 6-point teaser and get them to minus 6.5. Like when they do win the game, most of the time they're going to be winning by more than a touchdown anyway. Like the line implies that half the time they're winning by almost 2 touchdowns or more, right? So like every point you add in the teaser is just less and less and less valuable. It's like why teasing through 0 is negative EV. Right, because like the probability of the amount of games that actually end where that team lost specifically by 1 to 2 points is so low, the amount of juice you have to pay for just isn't worth it. That's why you wouldn't buy a half point for minus 140, but you might buy it for minus 120, depending on the number, depending on what that point you're buying is. If it's 3, if it's 7, or if it's 6, right? So it's just the VIG is just really bad based on the amount of actual games in aggregate you're adding to the times that you win based on those point values.
Yeah. Right. It's almost like when you have a distribution chart of a whole series of different scores, regardless of how big a favorite is, once you start dealing with like extreme numbers, you're going to get teams, like the Eagles yesterday as an example. They win by, what was it, 30-0 or something like that?
Yeah, 31.
They win 30-0. But you're also going to get circumstances like that where the favorite loses by a margin like that. I remember one of the years the Patriots won the Super Bowl was Monday Night Football. They lost to the Chiefs like 40-0 as favorites, right? So you're going to just get these outlying crazy lines. So I get what you're saying. It's also why I don't bet pregame. But it's funny you mention it because Seattle kicked the field goal to win by 2, right?
Yeah.
To win by 2. So it's funny because it actually, in that teaser leg, it actually mattered.
It did matter. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But all the other ones, all those teams in that teaser that we know of, I think all those other teams have won by, like, they all covered. I think they just straight up covered the spread as that favorite, right?
Right.
So like you would have still been better off betting all of them on the spread individually.
Right. So if you bet $100 on 4 of the spreads, you didn't lay the juice. Let's say $91 of profit on the 3 that won and $100 of loss. You were, in this example, you were much better off than teasing the 4 of them down to minus 140. But I do think it's also extremely rare on an NFL Sunday to have 4 13, 14-point favorites come through on one slate. And watching the games yesterday, so this past week, I was just sitting there in awe of what the NFL is right now, the state of the league. Now, I'm super excited for the playoffs. Chiefs are out. Not that matters all that much, but Chiefs are out, new teams, exciting teams, Seattle, New England, you can list Houston. Like, there's a lot of these teams that I'm like, oh, this is awesome. That part of the league I'm excited for. The other part of the league, the disarray and shambles it's disgusting how bad some of these teams are. And it's week in, week out, how awful we're seeing these football teams look. And it's wild.
Yep. Yeah. It's definitely been a more recent trend for these big 2 touchdown favorites to cover, particularly late in the season. But it's just such a small sample size that you just wonder, like, it could be a blip on the radar, or maybe it is just it's a sign of the way things are moving. The NBA is the same. The NBA has been the same way for a while because tanking's been more obvious and prevalent in that league for a long time. Plus, favorites tend to, it's just easier to cover bigger numbers because a basketball is a game of 100 possessions as opposed to 12, right? So like overtime is just harder for underdogs to win in that sport. But yeah, it's bad. I mean, some of those games were that Raiders game was disgusting. Like, that's what you'd expect the Oregon game to look like in college.
Yeah.
Is what that game looked like.
And I hope it does.
Yeah.
It's different. Yeah. In college, we want those games so bad. And in the NFL, it's just like puke city. Although usually it does lead to an under opportunity late live, which we capitalized on in the Eagles. And we won. That one was a lucky one. It was like 1st and goal on the 2. And they turned it over on downs for us, which was really nice. But it's funny that you bring up the NBA because I think about great management in sports, right? And how imperative that is, not from the standpoint of coaching. Coaching's so important, but from the standpoint of actually building a team, building the unit that can win. And I look at the Thunder and I think about Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and Kevin Durant, right? They go all the way. They're right there. They're on the cusp of a dynasty. And obviously, we've seen Kevin Durant at the top of the league, MVP, finals MVP twice, finals champion, blah, 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 blah. So, he had his career in Hall of Famer. Some people list him in the top 10 ever. I don't know about that, but list goes on and on. But he left that Thunder team in shambles, but they built a remarkable team. And that team in shambles turned into arguably the strongest roster in NBA history from good management. And that's the thing that so many of these NFL teams are lacking. You look at the Cleveland Browns, you look at the New York Jets. I guess you've got to throw the Raiders in the pile now too. Raiders are a little too young, I think. I know they've been around, but too young with what's now changed with them to judge them yet. But some of these organizations, you're like, how the fuck are they ever going to get better? Because they've had the 1st overall picks. They've gotten the quarterbacks that are now stars in the league on other teams. We see Baker Mayfield as a potential, Pro Bowler. We see Sam Darnold as a Pro Bowler. Like, the list goes on and on. They're toxic, and they're these bottom feeding teams that just seem to get worse and worse. The Titans had Vrabel as their head coach They went to the AFC Championship and they fucking fired him. They're a dumpster fire of a team. And it's just, you watch it all and you're just like, this is bad. Any Given Sunday still exists, but this is bad.
Yeah, it's bad. Maybe we should do a bit in the next couple of weeks about, I was thinking about this earlier when we were talking about the NFL and the decision making and all of that. And it very as much to me is like a parallel of where the NBA was in the late 2000s, early 2010s, or even into the 10s, where it was it was already a problem, but it was exacerbated by the one and done rule, where the players are just not ready when they come into the league to play. The coaching, the management, all of it's bad. We could probably go into a deep dive of it. I was thinking of all these examples and stuff. So they're just the thoughts that I lay down at night. But yeah, it's kind of striking. It's kind of a damning parallel, because that was a really rough time for the NBA.
Yeah.
But the NFL is so big, but Major League Baseball thought it was really big in the 70s as well.
Yeah, I like it. I'm doing a whole show on bad decisions, both in management and coaching. We could go on forever, I think.
Yeah.
We're gamblers. We know a few things about bad choices.
Yeah, exactly. Well said.
Okay, I'll quickly recap John's picks there before we move on. So he's got 3 in college football. It is Old Dominion playing South Florida, and he's got Oldie plus 3.5 and taking the money line as well. Oregon minus 21, and Alabama, Oklahoma, he's taken the Oklahoma money line at even money. And then over in the NFL, it is Eagles, Mandos under 45.5. And then he's got a teaser for us. It is currently the Bears plus 7.5 and the Seahawks plus 7.5 on each teaser. And if the line in the Seahawks-Rams game moves towards the Seahawks and they become the favorite, then he might just go ahead and slap the Rams on that teaser at plus 7.5 and have both those plays. All right. Love it, John. Good stuff. Pacer, it's over to you now. It is story time, and you've got what you described to me as the worst beat in your life. What exactly did you say here? You know, Payson, you're not prone to exaggeration at all, ever. But what did you tell me here? You messaged me. It's the worst beat I've personally ever had in sports. All right,
yeah,
Payson,
correct.
Tell us about the beat.
We're going to get there in 1 second. I want to build off this conversation with John because I got a message from a member that I want to read out.
Oh, okay, go.
In line with the discussion of the NFL. This member is going to be anonymous. Okay. NFL has been very challenging for me, to the point where I've stopped enjoying it. Not just this year, for 2 seasons now. The kickoff is exceptionally stupid. And there's just so much bullshit with 4th downs and clock management that it's become very arcadish. It reminds me of a user playing Madden, where people are throwing the ball up 10 with 3 minutes left, or going for it on their own side of the field instead of punting down 1 score with 8 minutes left. I'm going to pause the message right there.
Well, can we just, I love going for it yesterday on their own side of the field on 4th down, as those Cowboys did it and failed. And I absolutely loved it for my Vikings.
Great example, Shane.
You guys are idiots. You guys are morons. What are you doing?
Isn't that the watching point? It too. Yeah. We're watching it too. And if you, this is a very, okay, so think about this as a bettor, but also think about this as being the coach and the players, okay? If someone goes for it in a certain situation where it impacts your bet and you're like, fuck, I don't want them to go for this, that usually means they probably should. And I'm not referencing totals. I'm referencing some sort of side. You don't want them to go for it because you know it's probably the right thing for them to do, and it's going to impact your bet negatively when they most likely pick up the first down. Watching that in the Cowboys, that did not impact our bets. I think maybe we were trying to spin an over in and around that time, knowing that if they failed, the Vikings would have good field position. That might be around the time that we took the first half over there. But we're watching it and going, this is dumb. It was still a football game. It's not like they were down a bunch of scores.
Yeah.
But then let's flip to Carolina. Not a lot of people have eyes on Carolina, but Carolina is 7 wins, 6 losses, playing against the measly, stinky Saints. And yes, it's 4th and short, but it's late in the game and they have the opportunity to kick a field goal to go up 10 points. and they go for it on 4th down and they turn the ball over and they go on to lose the game. And you would usually think, oh, it's Carolina. They just suck. Who cares? Well, guess what? At the time, they were leading their division. I think they still are. But they had to win that football game. They're up 14 late. Then they're up 7. They don't kick. It's just stupid. It's absolutely moronic. And you know what? We're getting more and more examples of where the teams are losing because of their decision making, like the Eagles last week. So anyways, I know that people are trying to win games and it's a serious business, but it feels very unserious the way these guys approach the decision making, which makes it difficult to make educated bets based on what decisions are likely to be made. And this is the thing about sports betting, leaving the text message again. When it comes to sports betting, it is pure chaos. The only decisions that we can make as bettors is when we bet, why we bet, and how much we bet it for. That's it, right? After that, it's outside of our control. But the reason why we do those things, especially as live bettors, is about a logical path that aligns itself with a coach's motivation in that situation that provides a positive expected value against the sports books. But then when the logic of where that team is at in the game is thrown out the window, well, then guess what? So is the EV.
Yeah.
We put ourselves in a position where we are not aligned with them and we don't know why, and we can't communicate with them. So we're sitting there scratching our heads trying to understand what they're doing. Now flip the script over to the NBA. We had the Cavs money line yesterday.
Oh,
they were down,
that was terrible.
They were down 14 points, and we didn't take it then. We saw that they were storming back, and I think we took it when they were down 1 or 2 points.
Yeah,
and we got it around.
I got in a little bit before you guys. I loved that bet. I was in when I think they were down 4. I got in on that wager. I loved it. I'm looking at it. I'm like, they're storming back. This looks amazing. And sure enough, they did, and they got it to OT. And
they didn't get it to OT, Shane. They were up.
They got ahead. You're right. They got ahead
with 5 seconds left, and they didn't foul.
They allowed it to go to OT.
Not only that, if you watch the possession, there is no one guarding this guy. They could have fouled before easily. There's no one guarding him, and he drains the 3 to go to overtime, and then they lose overtime 8-0. The fans in Cleveland booed them off the floor. They literally booed them off the floor, and they deserve to be booed off the floor. Now, Shane, that is a bad beat. That is a bad beat. I'm going to finish the text message. That is a bad beat. Nothing like what I'm about to tell you about. Okay. Decision made. Like how we don't bet on teams when they're down 14 plus, knowing that they wouldn't kick a field goal. But now you have to worry about teams not kicking, not punting, not running in all these different situations where it doesn't make sense for the entire game start to finish. I'm trying to take a step back and just watch more of the games and enjoy it a bit more while still making some bets here and there that I think are good, but even that is difficult. The product has gotten worse, and we could deep dive into why that is, but there's a reason that guys like Joe Flacco and Phillip Rivers, who weren't even the best of their generation, can come off their couches and play competent football against good defenses when 70% of the quarterbacks in the league are going backwards and turning it over on half their drives. The athletes are bigger, stronger, faster, etc., but the rule changes they keep implementing to boost scoring because defenses are so sophisticated just make it possible for worse offensive decision-making and quarterback play to be passable on a week-to-week basis in this league. Rant over.
Yeah. First of all, like the fact that we have quarterbacks in the league that are 40 plus, and a guy like Phillip Rivers can come off the couch and nearly win a game. Now, look, Phillip,
14-point underdog.
Yeah, I don't even think he played particularly well. Like, I don't think he played at an extremely high level. The guy had 120 yards, threw 1 touchdown and 1 pick, but he managed the game and kept this Colts team in that game. Now, I think it was more of a testament to that Colts team as a whole.
I would agree with that, Shane, but also the stat line that you just read about his passing yards, that is consistent with the league this year with the new kickoff. Those are the stat lines we're getting for quarterbacks on winning teams. They're winning with 150 passing yards. It's insane.
Yeah, because that kickoff rule puts them halfway at the field sometimes. You know, it's Yeah, it's
The
it's
Bills
crazy.
scored
And
35 points. Josh Allen, we all know, is their best player. He didn't even have 200 yards in that game.
How many yards did he have?
That's 193.
Oh my God.
So like that's how, the Eagles won 31-0. Hurts threw for the ball 15 times for 175 yards.
There you go.
Like that's just it's crazy. Yeah.
Like the Brady Manning days, sometimes you have to look back to appreciate it. Rivers and Flacco are from that era, right?
yeah,
300 passing yards is like, that was just the baseline for like,
that was baseline. And I remember like the 500-yard passing day, where it was just like an insane day for that quarterback, and the fantasy implications and all of that. Yeah, you're right. That stuff is gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, that leads me to stay on the positive tone that we have right now. That leads me to the worst beat in my entire life. By far.
Let's hear it.
By far. Okay. And it's not even close. You talk about Cleveland being a bad beat. It's a bad beat. Portnoy talking about a team kicking a field goal to cover -8.5 being corrupt. Sure. Mm-hmm. Sure. But guess what? They would have kicked again and again and again in that spot. And I'm going to, spoiler alert, if you have a spread that's -7.5, -8.5, -9.5, or -10.5, you are at serious risk of a late field goal being kicked in college football or the NFL. In fact, we did pretty well last night on the Cowboys plus 10.5 live, right? So those are opportunities that are premium and premier in this league. Those aren't bad beats in my mind. Now, have you guys ever had a situation where you kind of count your bet before it's won?
Oh, sure. Been there.
Okay.
Yep.
I won this bet. I won it.
You won it.
It's a $500 wager. It pays out $10,000. It's 20 to 1. Okay. It's a pre-game player prop parlay.
Okay. How many legs?
2 legs. Okay.
20 to 1, 2 leg. Wow. Okay.
2 legs. The bet won at halftime.
The bet won at halftime.
It won. Over. It is over. Okay. The game ends and I'm waiting to get paid. Okay. And I don't get paid, don't get paid, don't get paid, don't get paid. I finally go look and I've lost the bet. Now, how I lost is one of the most egregious things you could ever mentally process. Okay. I had a series of bets all on Jeremy McNichols for the Washington Commandos. He needed 7 rushing yards for the game, along with a bunch of carries and some other things. It had all hit at halftime. It was done. He had 17 yards at halftime. He needed 7. 7 for me to win this bet. He had 17 at halftime. In the second half, they handed him the ball one single time. It was a loss of 11 yards. And he never got a carry again. He finished the game with 9 carries for 6 yards.
Oh.
So I was trying to figure out what the probability of this happening was. And apparently, there's about 100 carries a season that are a loss of 11 yards or more. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but it's extremely hard to lose 11 yards on a carry. But for a guy whose snap count is sitting around 25%, who has 8 carries in the first half, only get 1 carry in the second half and have it be a loss of 11 yards is insane. Not only that, they've graded it a 10-yard loss when it happened. And once the game was over, they switched it to 11 yards. So I was sitting there looking at this, and I never count my money before it's hit my account. I absolutely counted my money before this one hit my account. And this is the world we live in.
Wow.
I can smile about this. I can smile about this. This one goes up on the rafters for me. There is no worse beat I've ever had in my life. I've thought about some of the bad beats I've had, and we always reference this CeeDee Lamb one. The CeeDee Lamb one wasn't a bad beat. It was a great learning lesson, because that was the transition of the modern NFL happening, the college football spilling into the NFL, and coaches not being as sensible as they used to be. The influence of TikTok and social media and Instagram and Twitter and X, and the way people, and fantasy football, and the way the public has access to get in the players' ears. So they're like, oh, I can score fantasy points for my team right now. All my holders, out there. Guys like Austin Eckler that in his interviews after the game say, hey, I'm sorry, fantasy owners. I'm going to step it up next week, where they don't even care about their teams winning as much as they do their performance, individual performances on the field. That's that CD Lamb bet for us at In Play Live, that infamous one where we bet a shitload and he busted the line and scored a touchdown. That was a learning lesson. I can't learn from this one. I can only laugh.
No. There's nothing you can take away from that one, Pace.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, that's just tough luck, man. I mean, to lose 11 yards on the carry.
Yep.
That's just bad, man.
It's also the order in which it happens. Yeah. Because like if that's his first carry and he loses 11 yards, you're like, oh, well, this bet's dead. Yeah. And then when he claws all the way back to get to the 1 yard short, you're like, oh, I lost by the hook. And it's like a different, it's like the fact that you'd already won and you'd already marked it as a winner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not just marked it as a winner. Like, I'm refreshing.
Where's my money?
Yeah. And like Scotty's texting me and he's showing me like settled slips of like stuff that he's done. And I'm just like, why is his settled and mine not? It's crazy. Yeah. Anyways.
Well, there you go. Oh man, we should start getting you to share some of these bets ahead of time, Pace. I know that you've been doing these player props, and you've hit some big ones.
I think I've won about 80 to 90,000, but I think that's in the ballpark of what I've spent.
He's eating juice with me.
He's eating juice.
This is we talked about parlays on the show last week, Shane.
Yeah.
There's a method to the madness that I'm doing.
Here, right? Positive EV, books getting primed, all that.
Yeah. And I don't know how effective it is at that in the grand scheme of things, but it is kind of fun too. When you hit a couple of these things, but yeah, Scotty hit some crazy ones yesterday, a couple 200 to ones. So,
wow.
Yeah. He was, he had one bet. This is crazy. I think we talked about this last week, Shane, about like a running back over under. So he had Woody Marks under on carries. Woody Marks went down. This one was 500 to 1. And the backup, Abugadaba, I don't know his name. He had Abugadaba's over. And they went with Jordan. And Jordan was insane. But no one knew who Jordan was. Everyone thought the backup was Hugadaba, right? So 500 to 1, he just had the wrong guy to get the carries. But essentially he's betting like these little lottery tickets on the lead running back to go down and then the next guy to get the carries, right? He hit a couple just insane ones, though. Breece Hall's under on carries with Ray Davis's over on yards at like 200 to 1. Crazy shit.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Crazy shit.
We want to see some of those, maybe in full clip in the Discord channel. That would be the place for them.
Shane, I think there's a lot of pride in the guys in there really doing well on that channel. I don't think it should go in there.
You're gonna bring them. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they are doing well. They are doing well.
We could just create its own Discord, Degenerates Anonymous, and you just start firing away.
I think there's plenty of those that exist already, Pace.
Yeah, you know what's crazy, Shane, is this stuff is what the public loves, and they would be more willing to pay and lose doing this than put the time in that we put in to the live betting. You know?
Yeah,
they'd be like, shit, that guy, I just want my crack at that 10,000 and then I'm set. I'm made in the shade. Right. Give me that 200 to 1, right?
Yeah. This guy's hit a whole bunch and, it'll be easy. I know this. I know one of them will come through.
I'll hit one and then I'll be able to do this and then I'll retire. Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's how it works.
There's actually a guy that is pretty famous on socials right now that's come out as like an ex-gambling addict. And he ran up a balance to like $580,000 on DraftKings. And I guess they gave him a leash because of his previous betting behavior. And he had made a decision to withdraw like 300 or 400,000 of it to, basically lock in a whole bunch of profit. I don't think the guy knows what he's doing necessarily, but he just went on a crazy heater and he's a big bettor. And he also is the kind of guy that it's like, okay, if I bet 3,000 and it turns to 6, I'll bet 6 and it'll go to 12. And then maybe I'll stay at 6 for a bit and then I'll quickly go to 10 or 20 or 30 or 50. He lost the 580,000 in a day because he
In a
never
day.
in a day. Yeah.
Wow. That's tough, man. That's tough. Well, why don't we keep things moving and we'll stay on that because I've got a little bit of news to share from the world of sports betting, and it's exactly about that pace, gambling and gambling addiction and where things are going with legalization and all of that. And I don't want to. We've sort of been bitching quite a bit here on the show about stuff, and I don't want to sort of bring people down or anything like that. But I think that's one of the good things that we do here on the show, Pace, is that we do talk about these kinds of things. Not a lot of other sports betting content out there touches on this sort of stuff, and I just think it's important to bring it up and share it with people. So let me just bring up this story here, and I'll share my screen here. Some data here. Axios doing the reporting. The data coming from the National Council on Problem Gambling and The Economist. So take a look at this. This is the change in calls to the National Problem Gambling Helpline since January 2017. Okay, so starting over here, 2017, as we move along, and the green line are states that have legalized, and the gray line are states that have not. So you take a look at this, and I mean, here it is, 2021, kind of around the time that things really start to sort of pick up and more states start legalizing. And, you see this green line, and now here we are, mid 2023, coming up on 24, all the way to where we are. This is in August, these latest numbers here. And look at this. I mean, 148% the increase in states with legalized gambling. And still an increase in the states where it's not legalized, a 45% increase here. So I just wanted to sort of put that out there and share like, hey, in states where it's legalized, there's a lot of problem gambling taking place. So much so that the gamblers themselves are actually recognizing it and calling the national helpline. That's what these figures represent. Those people that have said, holy crap, I've got a major problem, I need to call. Okay, think of how many people out there have a major problem and don't make the call.
For
right?
sure, yeah.
Right. That's a massive amount of people out there, and just to even see the numbers that are calling spike like that, it's pretty crazy. And so you go through everything, and you can have a look. And then the next part here, this is where I want to make the next connection because I think it's so important. Is total tax revenue collected by states from sports betting. And of course, it's 200 million over here in 2021. And you come over here, first quarter 2025, we're nearing $1 billion. And it actually came down just a little bit since then, just a tiny bit, but nearing $1 billion. And so the thing here is that you can see the numbers spiking in terms of gambling, addiction, gambling problems. They're climbing at an enormous rate. You might think that things are going to get rolled back. They might scale this back a little bit. But then when you look at the tax revenue, it's kind of like gamblers might be addicted to gambling, but the state governments, they're addicted to money. And when they're raking in these kinds of revenues, they're not going to be rolling anything back, no matter how bad it is for their population. Because it's very easy to get addicted to that cash as a government. So I think it's all going to come down to personal responsibility. And so, that at the end of the day is going to be what people need to get a grip of over time. Right now we're at this spot where, things are just the sports gambling world is getting, a grip on everything. We talked about Kalshi partnering with the news, which, by the way, I wanted to mention our guy, journalist Danny Funt, out with an article in the New Yorker specifically looking at those partnerships that Kalshi reached with CNN and CNBC that we talked about on the show last week. Great read for anybody out there that wants to go have a look at that. So, they go on here, and here's another part of it all that I wanted to get into, which was this section here about this one of the researchers here, a policy expert from the American Institute for Boys and Men. It's all part of a bigger trend, says this guy, David Sasaki, the gamification of the financial life of young men. They talk about the manosphere, Pat McAfee show, Theo Vaughn, every ESPN broadcast or any other broadcast for that matter, where people are offering picks and odds and all of that. It's really swarming people, and it's younger guys in general, younger men that are really more susceptible to it than most. And I don't think either one of us qualify in that group anymore. It's my birthday today, as you guys mentioned off the top of the show. I'm certainly not a young man anymore, and I don't think any of us here are. And we're heavily involved, but we're also very responsible with things. And I think a lot of young people out there probably aren't. And I don't think I would have been when I was, in 18, 19, 20, 25 even. It probably would have taken me quite a while to reach that sort of level of approaching things the way we do, money management, tracking, discipline, diligence, all that sort of stuff, right? These guys, they just don't have it. And when you're constantly surrounded by it, I think it's easy to sort of fall into traps. And here's how easy it is. I'm somebody who just, does all those things I just described. Okay. And I can look at things from a value oriented point of view, but I'm still susceptible to it because last night in the Vikings Cowboys game, our TSN guy came on at halftime, Davis Sanders.
Oh, no.
Yep. And he called Jake Ferguson's over on receiving, over 32 and a half receiving yards. And he laid out what I thought at the time was a pretty logical explanation that they're missing a few guards. They're probably not going to be able to run. They're going to be looking for their tight ends over the middle. And I was like, oh, you know what? This guy seems to be making some sense here. And I thought, you know what? I think he's onto something. I almost never bet this guy's calls, ever. But last night, I'm watching the game, and I heard him come on, and I was like, you know what? I will throw a little something on this. Not a huge bet, but I was like, I'm going to take this bet. I think there's some value here. No, he didn't get another catch for the entire fucking game.
Yeah, but you didn't put. I thought you were saying you chased it down a rabbit hole or something.
No.
You just lost a quarter unit or something.
Yeah, no, it's a small loss, but it's the fact that Pace. I never ever bet this stuff. Ever.
Right. You're saying you were influenced by the broadcast.
I was influenced by the broadcast, and I'm a guy here hosting this podcast, betting with you guys for a long time, value oriented, really focused on making money at this, doing all the things right, and I was still influenced by that. So imagine how easy it is for young people out there constantly surrounded by this stuff.
You know what, though, Shane? It's funny because I can remember being, whatever age, 21, 22 years old, having literally $0, figuring out a way to get $50 to go make a parlay on Sunday. Maybe I sold something on Craigslist and on Saturday night, and I'm like, yeah, baby, yeah, like, let's go. And go to the bank account just to put the $50 into the ATM, deposit it into my local site, and spin up my parlay or my dogs with firepower. And that just made Sunday so enjoyable. Could I afford the $50 loss? No, it was all I had. But there was no other way for me to get that $50 into more money, right? I wasn't going to go out there making 50-cent unit size bets and grind out live betting on Sunday. I didn't know what I was doing. So the draw of the parlay to that person, like to that younger Pace, old Pace, if you will, it's tremendous. That draw is tremendous. And that $50, guess what, guys? If every time I did that at that age, and this is referencing the recreational player that has that pattern of behavior, not me, because I dug myself out and became an exceptional live sports bettor, which at times doesn't feel like it's true, especially in the last couple of weeks. But if you took that $50 every time you went to go do it, let's say it's every Sunday, and you put that away into the stock market, you just see the S&P, I'd be sitting here looking at tens and tens of thousands of dollars, with interest and all that kind of stuff. But of course, Shane, we talk about this all the time. That implies that humans are rational.
Yeah.
And we aren't.
Yeah. Well, they're going to have to learn to be, and they're going to learn the hard way. A lot of people out there, I think, are learning the hard way based on those calls, right? And those are the people that have come to the realization that they have a hard lesson to learn, right? There's a lot of people out there that aren't there.
It doesn't matter if it's Taylor Swift concert or Tulip Mania in the 1700s. Google it if you don't know what it is. chasing down Labubus. Even me, I buy cards.
Labubus.
I buy cards.
Yeah, you're a
People buy
card guy. Yeah.
Pokemon cards, comics, and people will tell you why it was the best decision that they ever made. Well, if you were to have an entirely new group of humans that just showed up on the earth tomorrow, chances are a lot of the things that we cherish and value that have no intrinsic value. So not businesses, not farms, not, homes that produce rent, no intrinsic value at all. The next set of humans would offer you all nothing for everything that we've collected and cherished, because there's no use to it. Even gold has a use. It has a use case. You can, it's a metal that you can build stuff with, right? You can forge things with. It might not be the best choice to do it with. There might be better ones, but the intrinsic value of so many things in this world that we put our money and time towards is senseless, but we continue to do it, and we'll continue to do it for the next however many years we're in existence. It's just the way we're programmed.
One thing I'll add, I know we're going a little long, but on the gambling, I think you were talking about young men growing up in like a financial gambling situation.
Yeah.
I think it's much greater than sports. The last 10 to 15 years, we've seen people just become ultra wealthy because they accidentally bought some amount of a cryptocurrency that they didn't understand when they were 18 years old or 20 years old, or maybe even younger. How many people have, you read stories where a guy had 1,000 Bitcoins on a flash drive from the late 2000s that he finds. And then he's trying to figure out what the password to the wallet was and all that kind of stuff. Right. It's people are they just see other people get win the lottery without trying or by accident. Yep. And it's in their head, you just need to try to do these things now. 50 years ago, it wasn't possible to have done that. There wasn't even an accidental way to do that. I'm sure there were stocks that would balloon overnight, but if you were 20 years old in college, or you were just working a normal job out of school or whatever, you didn't have access to that because you couldn't get on the internet and buy it. You would have to call a stockbroker somewhere and get them to buy it. And you wouldn't even know how to do that. Your parents probably didn't know how to do that. So it just wasn't possible. And now people luck into wealth all the time. And just one story of that, I think, pollutes probably thousands, tens of thousands of people who see it into thinking that they need to try to do something that's like that because they want to live that life and they want to be that person and be that lucky. And that's just not how reality works. So there's just, there's so many of those stories because there's so many people. There's going to be weird stories like that.
It's like the 50s version of this would be for no reason whatsoever preserving your comic books. That first,
and even then you have to wait decades.
But
it doesn't happen a week later or a month or a year later,
So my dad was born in 1950, and he bought all the original comic books, all the Marvel ones, all of them. He kept every single one of them. My mom chucked them out in a garage sale.
No.
in I think 2000-ish, and it was $1, and it's this whole box of the original comic books. And there came a time where my dad was like, "Hey, where did my comics go?" Mm-hmm. And he apologized to us because they would have been worth tens and tens of thousands of dollars. It's literally, he did open them and read them, but they were in I don't want to say mint perfect condition, but they were in great condition in this box that he saved from his childhood. Just in a garage sale, just poof.
Oh man, that's
But
your parents are still together, right?
Yeah. No. I think even my dad, I don't think he truly knew that what they could have been worth. We'll never know. But yeah, I mean, Lace's dad, when she was super young, spent $400 at the time on a shadowless PSA 10 Charizard, and they put it in their storage.
Pokemon card.
They never found it again. It's worth shadowless PSA 10. I don't know what it's worth. Probably one of our listeners would know, but I think at least a couple $100,000 today. But they just put it in the storage and never found it again. I don't know where it went. So I still am do you think we could go find that Charizard?
Yeah. Let's go dig around in the.
Guys, this conversation alone. Look how it went from us talking about people with problems to me switching to you know what I mean? Where's the gold?
Yeah.
How can I find the collector's item that we maybe once had that we don't know if we had or not, that like we don't know, right? And then people think that way about things today, and then they hoard junk. I've got a couple friends where they're like, oh, I buy all of these. I buy one to use and one to save, knowing that when this person dies, they're going to go up in value. And it's like, there's no intrinsic value again, like think about Beanie Babies. They became worthless. So why is one thing worth so much and the other not worth anything, despite the trend being just as, suffocating to the population and their overall like desire to go out and get it? Like, what's a Tickle Me Elmo worth today? I have no idea. I have no idea.
People were killing people for them at Christmas time for a few years.
Right? Killing them for it. So yeah, crazy stuff. And yeah. There's a documentary on Netflix, the third season. I'm promoting something. The third season's about to come out. I can't wait because this shit fascinates me.
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
It's Christmas time. There's a Christmas movie from I would guess around like 2000. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's called Jingle All the Way.
Yeah. They fight over that action.
They fight over the toy. And I was explaining this to one of Haley's cousins who's like their mid-20s, and I was explaining this movie and like how this used to be a thing where you would fight in stores, and they just like couldn't understand like why anyone would even go to a store on like Black Friday or anything anymore. Like there's just a totally foreign concept. I was like, people used to like literally get hurt and go to the hospital, or honestly die and get trampled to death
all the time. And, actually, thanks for bringing that up, John. I got to add that to my list of Christmas movies to show the kids.
There you go.
Yeah, yep. I just did Gremlins and Gremlins 2 a couple of weeks ago. Yeah,
there you go. Fun on that same topic, The Office has an episode where Dwight Schrute hoards all the dolls and then resells them at a huge profit.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. La 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 ka-ching.
Yeah. All right, guys. We covered a lot of ground here.
Long chain. I think
we've gone long, but we got to do upcoming hype. So very quickly, let's go through this. John, what are you most excited for in this week ahead?
In this week ahead, I think definitely college football playoffs, and then going back home to see my family. I've only been back home once since I moved. Twice, I guess technically, but only once have I actually been home. So looking forward to that.
Love it. Pace?
I'm excited for NFL on Saturday.
Yeah.
I love getting more slates of just one game on when it's not in Europe. I love it. I love that Black Friday Bears game. I'm not a big fan of the Christmas slate, but I'm excited for Saturday NFL.
Love it. There we go, guys. All right, I've got two. I've made it to the next stage. I guess this would be the semifinals of my fantasy football playoffs in my main league. Very excited about that, of course. And the other one I'll mention for everybody who's listening on Wednesday and is in Play Live tomorrow on Thursday evening, I will be chatting with the one and only Azan for Asking the Assassin, and I'm looking forward to that because I haven't chatted with the guy in well over a year. And he's always filled with great knowledge and advice for sports betting. So I'm looking forward to chatting with him ahead of the Thursday night NFL game. So for In Play Live members, tune in for that.
If anyone wants to bet with us, you can join us for just one stream a week with In Play Live Lite. I would dive into the Tuesday or Thursday. Tuesday if you lean more hockey, Thursday if you lean more everything. We swept the board last Tuesday. In hockey. So it was a lot of fun. And I know a lot of people have been able to come in and really enjoy just this one stream, more balanced approach to betting. So head over to inplaylive.com, click join now. You can join Lite. There is still a promo code available. If you need a promo code, just shoot us a DM on Instagram.
Right. And just to recap to John's picks off the top of the show, if anybody wants to go place those wagers, you can get them in at SX, sponsor of the show. Great place to place those. And if you're making parlays and that kind of thing, they still got another, I think they're running a third parlay tournament. The second one just ended today. They're launching a third one. So check that out.
Nice.
All right. Pace, John, sports bettors around the world. Till next week. Keep beating those books. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Lines. Remember to like, download, and subscribe. We are on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. Have a betting story or want to be featured on our podcast? Drop a note in the comments below. And if you want to join In Play Live, use promo code Behind the Lines.